It's official. Liberation Day has arrived, and President Donald Trump says, now it's our turn to prosper. His new tariff plan is shaking the nation, and everybody's talking. Forget Senator Cory Booker's 25-hour filibuster. That story's already faded. The spotlight is now squarely on President Trump's bold move, slapping reciprocal tariffs on foreign nations. But here's the twist, guys. They're not even full reciprocals. In fact, Trump says the U.S. will only charge half of what these other countries hit us with. Still very generous considering America's finally holding the cards. His message is clear, though. American workers have been robbed by global elites for too long, and that era is over. One YouTube comment nailed it. They said, "Thank God we finally have a president that loves America and puts us first." Now, honestly, guys, I mean, just look at the tariff chart. It just screams America first. And this isn't just policy, it's a statement. Now, according to Wall Street economist Thierry Wisman, this is not the worst case scenario for the stock market, which would have been a 20% global tariff across the board. So he doesn't think the markets are going to react that terribly. Well, he got that one wrong. In fact, Republican Florida Representative Byron Donalds sparred off with CNN's Sarah Sidner over this exact thing. She claimed that President Donald Trump's upcoming tariffs will cause pain to Americans. But as the good congressman pointed out, she's making an assumption without knowing the details of what the president's tariff policy is going to be. Plus, they're leaving out the fact that this is Trump, and Trump is banking on the U.S. being less severely affected than nations like Canada. And pretty soon, these countries are going to come to the negotiating table to give our president whatever he wants. Already, Canada is bracing for the fallout from this escalating trade war. Their economists warn that they're going to be seeing spiking grocery prices, major job losses, and even a potential recession if threatened U.S. tariffs take effect. So you see, our president knows what he's doing here, guys. He knows when to go hard and when it's better to take a softer approach. An example of a recent soft approach by the president, his dinner with known anti-Trump comedian Bill Maher. I mean, Kid Rock said it couldn't have gone any better, and Maher sounds like he can actually barely contain himself. He took to X to report back on the meeting saying, thanks for all the interest in the dinner with the president, and that he promises all will be revealed on his next show on April 11th. More on that later, guys, so definitely stay tuned. By the way, if you guys appreciate the daily news updates, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Now, first off, let's check out President Trump's Liberation Day tariffs. Here he is announcing what he called kind reciprocal tariffs on these countries. Watch.
In a few moments, I will sign a historic executive order instituting reciprocal tariffs on countries throughout the world. Reciprocal. That means they do it to us and we do it to them. Very simple. Can't get any simpler than that. This is one of the most important days, in my opinion, in American history. It's our declaration of economic independence. For years, hardworking American citizens were forced to sit on the sidelines as other nations got rich and powerful, much of it at our expense. But now it's our turn to prosper, and in so doing, use trillions and trillions of dollars to reduce our taxes and pay down our national debt, and it'll all happen very quickly. With today's action, we are finally going to be able to make America great again, greater than ever before. Jobs and factories will come roaring back into our country, and you see it happening already. We will supercharge our domestic industrial base. We will pry open foreign markets and break down foreign trade barriers. And ultimately, more production at home will mean stronger competition and lower prices for consumers. This will be indeed the golden age of America. It's coming back. We're going to come back very strongly.
So yeah, these are kind reciprocal tariffs because they won't be a full reciprocal, but instead ultimately approximately half of what the foreign countries levy on the US. And that's being kind considering how these are some of the worst offenders of trade imbalances. The president said that the US will impose a 34% tariff on China, a 20% tariff on the European Union, a 46% tariff on Vietnam, a 32% tariff on Taiwan, a 24% tariff on Japan, a 26% tariff on India, a 25% tariff on South Korea, a 36% tariff on Thailand, a 31% tariff on Switzerland, a 32% tariff on Indonesia, a 24% tariff on Malaysia, and more in a large chart of countries. Plus, He gave them the option of dropping the tariffs to zero, but only if the countries move their facilities to the United States. You see, Trump points out that for far too long, we have had trade deficits with these countries. He mentioned Australia's tariff on American beef, the high U.S. rice tariffs of China, Japan, and South Korea, the deficits with Canada and Mexico, as well as the tariff rates from Vietnam, Thailand, and the European Union. Now, for the president, it's gotten to the point that these trade imbalances with foreign countries constitute a national security risk. He said that American workers have been ripped off by foreign leaders, but it's not going to happen anymore. Now it's our turn to prosper. And he predicts that jobs and factories will come roaring back to our country, not to mention lower prices for consumers. And hey guys, I keep getting messages from you guys, comments saying, hey Ron, I keep missing your videos. I keep missing the breaking news. Can you please make sure I get notified? So I've taken care of you guys. All you got to do is hit the link in the description down below this video or in the pinned comment and join the breaking news newsletter. That's it. Totally free. Wall Street seems to be responding, well, depends on who you ask. So Wall Street economist Theory Wisman predicted that the markets will breathe a sigh of relief because for them, this is not the worst case scenario, which would have been a 20% global tariff across the board. Now, of course, the markets can and likely will recover, but the market did have a massive 1,600 point sell-off on the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Not to mention the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ were also in the tank. But he said that there will be some exceptions here, and the point is that we are making a discrimination between different countries that will form a basis for bilateral negotiations. Now, he also says expectations of inflation have hopped in the last 2 months, and that the only explanation for that is the tariffs. But Congressman Byron Donalds begs to disagree. In fact, he got into an argument with CNN host Sarah Seidner over this, saying that these people are making assumptions about Trump's plan that's just not right. Here, watch.
Are you okay with your constituents feeling more pressure and more pain when it comes to the economy as these tariffs are put in place and then the retaliatory tariffs are also put in place? Are you okay with pain being on their shoulders for a while as this all gets worked out?
Nobody wants pain for their constituents. I don't want pain for the people of Florida.
But Donald Trump said there will be some pain and disruptions.
But you are making an assumption without knowing the details.
I'm not making the assumption. Donald Trump himself said there was pain and disruption that was going to happen.
You're making an assumption. You are making an assumption, an economic assumption right now. Let's be very clear. The real pain economically has been the massive inflation coming from bloated overspending here in Washington, D.C. That is the real pain that the American people have felt the last 4 years. Well, what President Trump is trying to do now is bring industries back to the United States. So it's not so much pain. You might have some temporary adjustments in our economy, but that is for the growth of the American economy long term, stability and jobs over the long term for the American people and American workers. And that is actually a good way to take our economy, as opposed to following the same terrible policies of the previous administration and the Democrats writ large of just subsidizing industries and raising the debt of the United States. That is not the way that you actually build an economy. There's an old saying in finance: you can make markets jump, but you can't make them fly. And when you follow the old way, the Biden-Obama way of just subsidizing industries, yeah, you make them jump. You can make people feel good in the interim, but it's not sustainable over the long term. Donald Trump is looking at the long-term financial outlook for every American, and that's why we're starting today with Liberation Day.
You see, Seidner has been trying to get ahead of the president and saying that Trump's upcoming tariffs will cause pain to Americans. But for Byron Donalds, the tariffs will stimulate the economy in the long term. Now, as for the pain, he explains that nobody wants pain for their constituents, but she's making an assumption without knowing the details of what the president's tariff policy is going to be. So he clarified that the real pain economically has been the massive inflation coming from bloated spending here in Washington, D.C. Now, that is the real pain that American people have felt for the last 4 years. Now, what Trump is trying to do now is to bring back industries to the United States. Byron Donalds, he argued that the former presidents Barack Obama and Joe Biden, they hurt the economy in the long term by subsidizing industries. So now he sees it as President Trump dialing us back and that it's not so much pain. You might have some temporary adjustments in our economy, but that is for the growth of the American economy long term, stability and jobs over the long term for the American people and American workers. And for Donalds, this is actually a great way to take our economy as opposed to following the same terrible policies of the previous administration and the Democrats at large of just subsidizing industries and raising the debt of the United States. So what do you guys think? Does he have a point here? Drop a quick yes or no in the comments down below. Hit the like button if I'm making sense to you guys, or if you agree with me. And I think that it is our turn to prosper as Americans. Also, subscribe to the channel, turn on all notifications for more updates like this. All right, so let's get back to it. Now, here's what I'm thinking here. These tariffs, they're really more of a bargaining chip for President Trump, and he's skillfully using them to get these countries to the negotiating table. Now, already, Canada's bracing for spiking grocery prices, major job losses, and even a potential recession. The United States is Canada's largest trading partner, accounting for nearly 2/3 of Canadian imports and receiving over 70% of its exports. But under President Trump's new Liberation Day tariffs, 25% on Canadian goods and 10% on energy, Ottawa now faces an economic gut punch that could ripple across key provinces, industries, and its national election campaign. Now, for Trump, they've already taken so much out of our country, friend and foe. And frankly, for the president, friend has been oftentimes much worse than foe. I mean, sure, increased tariffs could mean that Americans will see higher price tags on everything, ranging from fertilizer and oil, vehicles and machinery to plastic and wood products. But people could easily just not buy these products from Canada. And that would result in an even bigger loss for Canada's economy. And with them implementing their own reciprocal tariffs on U.S. goods, Canadians won't just feel losses on a macro scale, but also in an immediate sense, as prices at the grocery store have spiked on things like leafy greens, citrus, orange juice, beef, pork, and fish. So really, the fallout here is going to be on Canada's side more than ours. Canada Immigration Minister Mark Miller has warned that up to 1 million Canadian jobs are at risk. Now, according to senior policy analyst and trade policy Andrew Hale, most Canadians live within 100 miles of the U.S.-Canadian border, and so they obviously will be heavily impacted. Most Americans don't. Canadian leaders have already voiced concern that as many as 160,000 jobs could be lost in Quebec, right along with another 500,000 jobs in Ontario, depending upon how long the tariff dispute lasts. Now, economists predict Canada could face a recession this year if it can't rein in Trump's tariff offensive. Now, another thing as pointed out by Hale, they're right in the midst of a general election campaign, so it's very difficult for them to negotiate and put these measures on during an election campaign. Meanwhile, President Trump has got both the House and the Senate backing him up. So really, our commander-in-chief is holding all the cards here, wouldn't you say? Just watch, guys, because pretty soon these countries, they're going to come begging, and when they do, President Trump, he's going to be making sure that the American people come out on top. I mean, he seems pretty relaxed about it. Relaxed enough that he had dinner with his very vocal critic, Bill Maher, at the White House. So here he is talking about it right before the actual thing. Watch.
You're going to meet with the president.
I am?
So Kid Rock makes it happen. What do you think has been the response so far? What do you think it will be, and why are you doing it? Which I'm totally for, by the way, and I love it.
I get it. Well, I'm doing it because, first of all, it was presented as
a dare.
not a dare. No, just like, maybe this is a beginning to heal America. No, I don't have some sort of complex where I think I can heal America. I can't. Okay, let's get that clear. I'm not going to be healing America. But if two guys who've been at each other for so long, I mean, it's kind of a Nixon to China thing. I have the credentials. There was nobody who was harder on Trump or more prescient about the fact that he wasn't going to leave office voluntarily than I was. I feel like I have the credentials. But they also respect me because I'm honest about the woke train to crazy town. And I don't shrink from that. And I've also lost a lot of fans for that. The woke people have left the building, and I'm willing to make that sacrifice. But it does give you a certain credibility. So I just think to meet somebody, first of all, it's an honor to be invited to the White House.
Yes, it is.
And I've already had a couple of people who I said to them, you know, I'm just going to take it as a backhanded compliment. that you glide right past the idea that little Bill Maher from Rivervale, New Jersey, just a humble kid from the suburbs, was invited for a private dinner to the White House. You glide right past that to how dare you talk to him, and that you're not impressed by it at all. I'm impressed by it a lot. I'm impressed the fuck out of it. I get to go to the White House, and yes, that is the structure of this dinner, is just let's talk. Let's talk to each other face to face. Let's not stop shouting from 3,000 miles away.
Unbelievable that none of the liberal presidents who Maher supported ever even invited the man to the White House. And then he was given a personal tour and a dinner. That's just who our president is. Now, as people are quickly finding out, he's probably one of the best presidents that we've ever had. Now, Bill Maher is teasing that he's got a lot to say about this experience. He said all will be revealed on his next show on April 11th. So I'm actually looking forward to watching that. Anyway, so country rock star, rock singer, Kid Rock, he was responsible for setting up the dinner between President Trump and Bill Maher. Now, before it, Trump shared his concerns and that he really didn't like the idea very much, but thought it would be interesting. He said it on his Truth Social post about it. The problem is, no matter how much he likes your favorite president, he will publicly proclaim what a terrible guy he is, etc. But who knows though? Maybe he'll be proven wrong. In any event, he's doing a favor for a friend, and that he looks forward to meeting with Bill Maher, Kid Rock, and I believe even the legendary Dana White will be present. It might be fun or it might not, but you'll be the first to know. Now, for his part, Kid Rock said it could not have been better and that everybody was so surprised. Here, check this out.
I want to hear about your dinner with the president. What did you, Bill Maher, and Dana White and the president talk about?
You know, it went so well. We talked about a lot of things that we had in common, which Bill Maher is a big, supporter of Trump's stance on the border, of ending wokeism. The president even asked him about policy, like what he thought with Iran getting a nuclear weapon and how Israel should react. Bill's a big supporter of Israel. We broke bread and talked about things we had in common, and it could not have been more cordial, more nice. I think everyone was so pleasantly surprised. I mean, it was so nice to have my friend Dana White there, and Dana goes, he told me, he goes, Bob, you did the right thing here. This was a good thing. Because everyone was a little suspect about it. Even the president had called me a few days ago. He goes, what the hell you got me doing here? And I'm like, we're just trying to break bread with some of our biggest critics and say, like, hey, it's okay to talk to one another. We can maybe bring a little bit of civility back to this country for reasonable people.
He said it blew his mind. And Bill Maher at least seems to be keeping an open mind here. He said there will be lots of people on the left who will be like, how can you talk to this man? But for Bill Maher, he's not playing this game that mean girls play, like, you know what? You can't sit at my lunch table because I'm just not talking to you. He also said, you can not like Trump, you can hate him, but you can't hate everybody who voted for him. At least he doesn't hate half the country, and he doesn't want to hate half the country. Bottom line for Bill Maher before going into that dinner, yes, he will talk to anybody, and it's an honor to be invited to the White House under any circumstance. Now, for me, I think the more people meet President Trump, the more we'll find out that he isn't this horrible person that the media has decided to make him out to be. Now, I think it was great that Bill went to go meet with him, but let's see what Bill Maher is going to say once his next show drops, all right? So let me know your thoughts, guys. Drop a quick comment down below. Let's get a conversation started. Now, if you want more hard-hitting content like this, definitely check out our recommended videos that are coming up right after this. As always, appreciate you guys watching. I'll see you on the next one.